To recap the Lafayette game, I thought it was a great win. Awesome to be 3-0, 2-0 at home. One of those wins, a Power 5 non-conference win on the road, up to 14 in the polls. I thought we improved in all three phases this past week. The areas we deemed important: scoring offense, scoring defense. We're towards the top of the SEC in the country in both of those categories. I think we're doing a real good job on kickoff return. Excuse me. A couple other areas that we deem as important to being successful: turnover margin, explosive plays, doing a real good job there. Doing an excellent job on third down, offensively and defensively, and in the red zone. Reduced our penalties from 11 to 3. Limited our substitution errors, so felt real good about the game where we were there. Certainly pleased but not satisfied. Still plenty of room to grow. Identified those areas in film yesterday. And certainly with our SEC schedule coming up, very small margin of error there, so we've got to continue to improve. Our players of the week, as voted by the coaching staff: on offense, Nick Fitzgerald; on defense, John Abram; on special teams, Marcus Murphy; scouts of the week on offense, Travis O'Connor; for defense, RJ Jennings; and special teams, Torrey Dixon. Student athletes of the week were Leo Lewis, Stephen Guidry, and Devon Robinson. From an injury standpoint, Jamal Peters will be out for this week, and he'll be week to week. We'll see where he goes next week. And a bunch of other guys with just a couple bumps and bruises, and they will be day to day. Okay. Moving on to Kentucky, it's going to be a huge challenge for us. Obviously, Coach Mark Stoops. Have an unbelievable amount of respect for him. Gotten to know him from the SEC meetings, and another Midwest guy, Youngstown native. Cardinal Mooney, great high school there. Certainly the huge challenge, they're going to be 3-0, 1-0 with the win over Florida, so 1-0 in SEC play. And you can see by their their roster that they've recruited size, speed, length, and athleticism, and not just that part of the roster, but they've done an excellent job developing the talent and their mindset. Toughness, physicality, aggressiveness, explosiveness, and right now they're playing with a ton of confidence. Offense is led by Eddie Graham, their coordinator. They're a spread team, averaging 37 points a game and 470 yards. Their best players, we believe, are the quarterback, Terry Wilson, was a transfer from Oregon, junior college kid, very dynamic, very athletic, can make plays by design or improvisation, extends plays with his feet, does a great job there, and has really done a great job as a passer this year. So I think they're doing an awesome job with him. And certainly running back Benny Snell, his talent and production kind of speaks for itself. An all SEC player, 5'11", 225 pounds. In a lot of ways, kind of similar to some of our guys. Can run between the tackles, can break it out in the open. Good receiver out of the backfield. And then wide receiver Lynn Bowden. He was all freshman SEC last year. Really kind of coming into his own. A guy we recruited at Penn State. We think he's, Lynn's an excellent player and provides a great, legitimate deep threat on the outside for them. Defensively, Matt House is their defensive coordinator. They're a multiple 3-4 unit, giving up 15 points and 305 yards a game. So very stout in their first three performances. Big, strong, and physical up front. Have two great linebackers on the inside that can run and make plays. Do a great job avoiding blocks, and a lot of size and length and athleticism on the back end. You think their best guys up front, are Josh Allen, number 41, kind of plays an outside linebacker, defensive end position. A lot of people projecting him as a top-round NFL talent. Jordan Jones, a linebacker, number 34, and then Mike Edwards, number 7, the defensive back. Special teams led by Dean Hood, and they had 3 block kicks, and I believe a blocked PAT, or about blocked field goal, 3 block punts and a blocked field goal last year. So certainly, that's something we're going to have to be ready for, and all the looks that they give, and they also have a couple dynamic return men. Keys to victory, as always, will be how well we prepare, how hard we play, and how well we execute. One play at a time to championship standard. Excited to get into SEC play, first one on the road, and it's going to be a great challenge, and we'll be ready for it. Any questions?
Raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you. Paul?
With Jamal's situation, what do you kind of do there to kind of move things around? Is it a possibility that Chris Rayford possibly plays for him?
Yeah, he's always been dual trained, for the possibility of that happening. So, he can get reps safety, going to get reps at corner. We got the other guys in there, and we'll see how it goes this week based on the repetitions and the production and practice.
conversation around college football about the man downfield penalty and how RPOs kind of play into that. Where do you stand on that, on the rule, how it's enforced, et cetera?
Where do I stand on the rule? Well, we're an RPO-based offense, so I believe that the rule is pretty clear on the legality of it, and the rest call it as they see it. So a lot of people are doing it. I believe we had one call last week. So that's kind of just where college football is right now.
Not sure how much film you watched last year of Elton Jenkins, but obviously he did well this past weekend. What's your thoughts on his play so far and how he's been able to handle the center position?
He's doing awesome. Obviously, the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. The center's kind of the eyes and ears and brains of the operation, making all the calls, making sure everybody's on the same page. A guy with a lot of skill, a lot of intelligence. Very physical, very athletic. So we're certainly pleased with how Elton's been playing.
Coach, 3 blowouts so far. What have you been telling to the team, and how prepared do you think they'll be if you get into the second half of one of these conference games and they're going to have to win it there?
Yeah, I think certainly going back to our thought process during camp of being able to handle prosperity and adversity. So we just have to prepare ourselves for the situation that would love every game to go according to plan and win by a significant margin, but I just don't think that's the reality of it. So I think you don't rise to the level of the situation, you fall back to the level of your preparation. I think everything that we've done in spring ball and fall camp and putting ourselves through those, we talk about situational awareness and going through those things during the course of the week will prepare us if and when one of those situations arises.
Keith Mixon, coming into this year, even in camp, had told me that he thought that he didn't know for sure if he'd ever really be back to himself kind of thing, but he offensively has been a big part of what you've done so far. I guess, what were your thoughts on him, coming in as he was injured and things, and has he exceeded the expectations that you thought that you would have?
Yeah, you go back and look at some of the film from last year, and Keith, made some, very dynamic, explosive plays, and, battled back hard from the injury. I think he's his own worst critic. He's very tough on himself, and that's a good thing because he wants to be the best player that he can be. And, fought back to get healthy. I think we have 3 legitimate options at the slot position between he, Dedrick, and Keith, and certainly those guys, all, fight for playing time during the week. I think Coach Ketsey does a good job preparing them, and they were all given opportunities. And, week 1 it was Austin. Week 2, Dedrick made some plays. And, Keith stepped up this week with 4 for 80 and a touchdown. So I think it's a luxury to have all those guys go. I'm very proud of the way he's approached it. Football is very important on individual success and how the team does. So he's got a very bright future here, immediate and in the long term.
Coach, it seemed there was a concerted effort to get Stephen Giddy a little more involved in the offense. What have you seen from him in recent weeks?
I think the most exciting thing about Stephen's performance on Saturday is it was a validation of his practice habits during the week. So learning to go hard every rep when the ball's coming to you or not coming to you. And, that's tough to do sometimes because you're not sure based on the coverage where the ball's going to go. So I think he's training himself on a daily basis to be a top-level player in this league. And I certainly think he has the talent to do so. And he was very fortunate to have his number called and make a bunch of plays. And I think he's just going to get better and better as the weeks go on.
Coach, Kentucky runs some odd fronts, probably a little different look than we see in this conference. How do you kind of prepare for that? Does it change your alignment at all?
Yeah, they do some, front-wise a little bit. It's a little similar to what Louisiana did. 3 down front with some 4 eyes, and 41's kind of the rush backer to the boundary, and he's a real, athletic, long, physical guy. He's a guy we got to be certainly aware of. But really, it doesn't change the plays necessarily. It changes some of the blocking rules, some of the angles. When you talk about the run game, where can you find your best numbers? Where are the angles for the linemen to block them most effectively? And where can you get your guys into open space and grass? So I think more than anything, it changes the angles more than the numbers.
It was a bit of a slower start against Kansas State, and how much of that had to do with being on the road, and what did you guys learn from those road experiences that you take into this week?
I think it was a learning experience for all of us. When I say a new program, a new coaching staff, going on the road with the team for the first time. In particular, I think that one was a little bit different because we had a 6:30 kickoff where you're have your Friday meetings, you're waiting in the hotel all day, and then kickoff doesn't come till later, and there you're flying out there having your meetings, you wake up, have breakfast, and, you know, you blink your eyes and it's kickoff, so, hopefully that's something that will be adjusted to moving forward. I think maybe, I don't want to, there's two things, excuses and reasons, I don't want to make an excuse, but that could have played a part in it, and hopefully we're doing a good job as a staff, making sure the kids are adjusted to that schedule. With this being another 6:30 kickoff, we'll be waiting around a long time on Saturday again, so we'll utilize that time wisely.
This defense had a lot of success against Benny Snell last year. Do you take a look at that on film to try to, when you get ready for that, and how do you prepare for a team that relies on the running game so much?
Yeah, I watched all the games from last year, so saw that when I initially got here. But I think Coach Shoup and his staff do a real good job exhausting all the possible scenarios and ways to bottle up a guy like that. And he's a guy that I think you're looking for. I don't know if you're necessarily going to stop him. You're just looking for ways to contain him because he is talented. I think their offensive line averages over 315 pounds across the board. And another team like us, who I think prides themselves on their physicality and their effort and how hard they play. So I think that's something that you see across the board with Kentucky. So like with any great back, you got to make sure you have great gap integrity. You got to make sure a great job of your gang tackling and getting a bunch of hats to the ball. And with this guy, with how physical he is, and guys bounce off tackles, you can't be on the edge of him. Because if you're going to arm tackle, he's going to run through it.
Coach, so much winning tradition within this matchup. How do you kind of, coming in for that first year, separate that and just focus on it being another game you have to win on the road?
You mean historically our win-loss record against Kentucky?
Yeah.
Yeah, we look at it as I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's a bunch of one-game seasons, and told them, last week doesn't matter this week relative to the Louisiana game, and last year doesn't matter this year relative to the 45-7, I believe was the score. So, that's, last week's game is not going to have any bearing on the outcome of this one, nor is last year's game against them. So, it's every year is a new team, and they're playing with a ton of confidence, and, rightfully so. They've done a great job in all three phases. So, I think the kids are wired in. They're excited for SEC play to start, and I think we'll have a great week of preparation. I could hear you.
When Jamal went out this past week, what did you see from those younger corners that came in and filled in for him for the rest of the game?
No, I thought they did a good job. Coach Buck does a good job, during the course of the week, getting those guys working field and boundary corner. And at the end of the day, there's just you got to know the call, and it's several different techniques. You're cloud, you're press man, and you're an off corner or you're an off third, and I think and they did a good job of run support too. So I think it's not just the guys that had to replace Jamal because of the injury, but because it was one of the games we had earmarked to get a bunch of the young guys in. I thought because of the nature of the game and the score, it was good to see those young corners get in and a bunch of guys across the board get in and get some playing time.
Hey Joe, Kylan went out in the game. Do you have a health update on him? And also Greg Allen, I think he came back in, but is he good to go? Or both those guys good to go?
The Greg would be new, and that'd be new to me.
Oh, okay. I was watching
Greg's
the
good.
game
Yeah,
yesterday.
made me nervous. I thought you knew something I didn't. Greg's good, but Kylan's day to day, a lower body. He's dinged up. He went through practice yesterday. Today's his off day, so we'll see where he's at with the training staff tomorrow and anticipate him being ready to roll.
Talking about Kyle and Aries, obviously you talked in the postgame about how good a 1-2 punch that is. What kind of goes into your decision making as to when you have two backs like that with Aries and Kyle? Who's on the field, that sort of thing? Just playing with two dynamic backs like that, what goes into those decisions?
It's not necessarily. It's hard to. Can't put them in by play. So that'd be one thing that's difficult, but a lot of it is judged by how they've done during the course of the week in practice, and we set a rotation, and then from there it can really go, the way the flow of the game dictates. And I think something that was very valuable for Aries this week, in addition to his carries on first and second down, is his experience as a protector on third down, particularly in medium plus situations, where Collins improved in that area, but Aries has been in the game and seen a lot of those situations. The pressures, the blitz pickups, and things like that. So it's great to have two guys like that, and really more than anything, it's probably feel of the game as opposed to a predetermined dispersal of the carries.
Going back and watching some of the film, did you see any instances where you saw Nick kind of stay in the pocket, and other times he might have run in the past. And did you, after watching the film, do you think that he felt more comfortable?
I think he did. I don't think he necessarily had happy feet against Kansas State, but he wasn't necessarily, the term I use is quiet feet, and his feet were a lot more quiet in this game. And, I think, that's, falls in line with the thought process of him knocking some of the rust off and, just getting back again. And, you could say that the injury's not a factor, but if anyone, obviously everyone's seen it, something of that, nature for a guy to come back from that and feel comfortable, standing in or against a rush when really, you're defenseless. I think he's going to continue to get better and better in every week. And I think, there's a fine line, but I think he also has a great knack and feel and awareness for when the pocket's collapsing and he's exhausted his progressions and there's no longer a option to throw the ball, extended plays and scrambling. I think he had a couple key scrambles on third down during the game.